Did you have your own? Did you have your own firm, or did you?
Well, I had my apartment. I did at one time, but then I merged with somebody else.
Okay.
As a CPA, and then before that, I worked for Bain Coleman and Quayle here in town,
Okay.
which is a stock brokerage firm. They're named somebody. There's somebody else now. And then I was a portfolio manager for a regional bank. So that was my second career.
Okay.
My first one, I was in Lankhorst. Worked for 2 years for the CIA.
Interesting.
Yeah. Won't say.
Oh no.
Paul Thompson, how do you haven't had a chance to meet you before, so
I've seen the picture a lot.
Do you guys need anything more from me, or are you good to go? I think we're good to go. Okay, I have your microphone on the chair there.
Next time we'll get you there, okay? Thank you, Carol, for your beautiful playing. Can you hear me?
What?
Good day, and welcome to today's worship service. We are grateful that you are all here today. My name is Liz Wolf, and I'm the service coordinator here at All Souls Church, where our mission is to seek truth, practice love, and celebrate life. Whether you are joining us for the first time or you've been a member for a long time, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known or not known, or whatever your heritage, you are welcome here. Whatever questions you may have, whatever questions you may hold, whatever truths you seek, whatever sorrow you have known, whatever joy has filled your heart, whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. So I just have one quick announcement. The ecstatic dance this upcoming Saturday, August 3rd, has been canceled. So don't show up when there's no dance, because no one will be here. And as always, you're invited to stay for conversation coffee, and at 11:20, the circle discussion today will be with Speaker Royal Lankhorst. Eric, if you could come help us light the chalice. Let us read number 436. We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one. Our first song is number 121, and if you could, please rise if you are able. The song is We'll Build a Land. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll Thank you. So for our first reading, it's number 438, Morning. And I'll read the regular font, and then if you could follow with the italicized. From the east comes the sun, bringing a new and unspoiled day. It has already circled the earth and looked upon distant lands and faraway people. It has passed over mountain ranges and the waters of the seven seas. It has shone upon laborers in the fields, into the windows of homes and shops and factories. It has beheld proud cities with gleaming towers, and also the hovels of poor. It has been witness to both good and evil, the works of honest men and women, and the conspiracy of knaves. It has seen marching armies, bomb-blasted villages, and the destruction that wasteth at noonday. Now, unsullied from its tireless journey, it comes to us, messenger of the morning, harbinger of a new day. By Clinton Lee Scott. And we don't have any children today? Do we have any children? No. Well, I'll still read the story. All right. It's called Christmas in July by Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. By Arthur Yorkings and Richard Iglesias. Are you going to come down? Thank you, Edie. I appreciate that. Oh, it was beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Snow fell like angels parachuting from heaven. Bells jingled. Chestnuts roasted. All was calm. All was bright. Right? Wrong. Where's Donner? Where's Blitzen? Where's my pants? Santa was hysterical. Sydney, head helper, stepped forward. Sir, we have some bad news, he mumbled. The cleaners, they lost your pants. What? Santa began to sweat. Not my, yes, boss, your Christmas pants. Yumpin' Yemeni, cried Santa. But wait, in a penthouse on a chaise, lounging, a rich man, Rich Rump, was spotted wearing Santa's pants. Santa himself went to investigate. Mr. Rump, Santa said, I know we've never met, but I believe you're wearing my pants. Get lost, Rump replied. Yes, but Santa stammered, I need those pants. So who do you think I am? Rump fumed. Santa Claus? But I'm Santa, said Santa, and those are my pants. You're a bum, Rump yelled, and he swiftly kicked Santa out. Boy, what a temper. Undaunted, Santa took to the streets. I'll get pants, he declared. He went from store to store, but it was a lost cause. In Macy's, no one even recognized him. Scaring children. How dare he? Desperate for trousers, Santa stood on a corner calling out to busy pedestrians. Hi, I'm Santa. Got any pants? Immediately, he was arrested for loitering. There goes Santa. At his trial, Santa pleaded, I'm innocent, I tell you, I'm Santa. You're Santa? The judge interrupted. Where are your pants? Well, 6 months, the judge snapped. But what about Christmas? Santa cried as he was carried off to the slammer. What about Christmas? It came, but Santa didn't. No presents were piled under trees. Stockings hung by the fire hung empty. And Santa was sayonara. He's just late, Jimmy McDonald, a father, told his daughter. You wait, he'll show up. So they waited. Everybody waited. The whole world waited. Weeks passed, months passed. Everyone sat and waited. Nobody went to school, nobody went to work, shops closed, businesses went bankrupt. I'm telling you, by the time Santa got out of jail, the world was a mess. And hot. It was July. The pavement was so hot you could fry eggs, bacon, hash browns on it. That is, if you had any eggs, bacon, or hash browns. Nobody did, not even Rump. Rich Rump, no longer rich, stood on 34th Street trying to sell his pants for a cup of coffee. Size 67 with cuffs, he announced. Nobody even blinked. But Santa, fresh out of the pokey, staggered toward Rump, and then from the heat, fainted. "Hey, Tubby," Rump said to Santa, "you need slacks?" $2.50. Santa was silent. "Okay, a quarter," Rump continued, but Santa was out cold. Rump stared at the poor, pantless old man. Gee, the pants go so well with the jacket, he thought, and he didn't even need alterations. Rump's icy heart was finally melting. "Here, take my pants, please," Rump offered. Santa opened his eyes and sighed. "Such nice pants." "They're so you," Rump said. Wait a minute. You're Santa," a crowd gathered. "It's Santa," they hollered. "I'm Santa," said Santa, "with pants." Suddenly, Sydney arrived, and Santa climbed into a sleigh and rode up high into the sky. There's his magical comeback. What a wonderful Christmas in July. Yule logs blazed, herald angels sang, and everyone in the world had food to eat, a place to sleep, and a nice pair of pants. And here's where we would sing the children out, but we don't have any children. So now it's time for joy and concerns. In this congregation, we have found it helpful to share the ups and downs of our lives by the practice of taking a stone from the bowl and holding it in our hand, warming it, and expressing our thoughts of joy and our concern, and then placing the stone in water so that the ripples of the water carry our joys and concerns out into the world. I will begin by taking one stone. I don't know if you can hear me out. Is that on?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to warm a stone. No? No? That's mute. No. This one? No. Okay. So my joy is that my daughter has just moved back. Oh, thank you. Has just moved back and to South Dakota, and she's going to go back up to Brookings and continue her education in civil engineering. So if there's anybody else who would like to come up and tell us about your joys or concerns.
Ian Hapke, and my one thing I like my one joy I like to share is I'm still in a partnership with Jennifer, my wife, and she's still with me, and we're doing really good. And I like to send my thoughts and prayers to everybody back in Helping Hand, and hope that they're all doing okay. And I'm gonna also share my hopes that my gratefulness to see that my brother and his wife Doris had done some remodeling to the farmhouse that we used to all grow up in, and it looks really nice. So
Thank you, Edie. Gary is gonna.
Well, my name's Eric, and I've been a member here of the church for a long time, but there's some folks in the church here that are been members for even longer than I have, and it's just great to see Royal. Joan and Greg back, it's good to see them, and we just got back from a great week in Camp Unistar up in northern Minnesota. Spent the entire week with our daughter up there.
Nice.
And saw relatives, so lots to be joyful for.
I'm Alan. I have 3 joys today. First, I'm happy to welcome my cousin Lois. Technically, first cousin once removed, but we don't like to be removed, so glad to have you here, Lois. And second one is a stone of gratitude to Liz for hosting the Circle Supper on Thursday night at her home, and a lot of you were there, and it was really fun to see all of you and spend that time together. And the third is to recognize Royal, who I've enjoyed getting to know for the last couple of years, and had a lot of great conversations, and can't wait to hear what he has for us this morning.
Thank you, Alan. I'm John, and I have 2 joys. One is to see Royal again. Eric, I have known Royal longer than you have. We were in church and school together back when dirt was young. And the other is for Liz. My big joy is that Liz is president and I am past president.
Thank you, John. Well, my name is Charles, and I've been a member here for about 14 years off and on. I've also been a member of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is the online church of Unitarian Universalism. Now, I'm very proud of my daughter again, because she has the nicest apartment she's ever had in the USA, as she moves to Colorado to assume her new position in a little more than a month. So I'm very proud of her. She's also finishing something she's being paid for. Isn't that new? Other than teaching. She is translating a book of poetry, Japanese poetry, into English. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott. Been here a while. The pleasant news is I am on vacation for 60 days. And at that point, I will be laid off. And the severance pay is good to last me until mid-December. And I've been in this position before, and I know I'm neither thrilled nor upset about it. Life just continues, and you look for the next right thing.
As I put in this final stone, I would just like everyone to take a moment of time to reflect upon what was said today and what was not said today. And we offer up our joys and concerns for all of those. Thank you. So now it's time for our second song, number 189, Light of Ages and Nations. And again, if you want to stand, if you can. And our second reading is number 502 by Webb Dubois. Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. It is today that we fit ourselves for the greater usefulness of tomorrow. Today is the seed time, now are the hours of work, and tomorrow comes the harvest and the playtime. So today's message is World Finance with Royal Lankhorst. Royal is a longtime member of the church. He's also, his career was as a CPA, stockbroker, and portfolio manager. And interestingly, he was also a linguist with the CIA before he started any of those endeavors. So I find that interesting. So if you could come up. And can't we do that? Oop. Can't do that. Thank you.
Okay, is this working? Can you hear me? Say it louder. Okay, well, pleased to be here today. It's been a long hiatus, and thank you for the kind introduction, Liz. So initially, when I prepared this, I was going to give a little speech before I started, but I got to meet the 20-minute time requirement, and the speech took almost that much. So I'm just going to jump right into the PowerPoint. And pictures are worth 1,000 words. That should be a lot more beneficial anyway. So I'll just get started, and I'll comment as we go along. And if there are any questions or whatever, clarifications that anybody wants to ask, we can do that at the, what's it called now, circle back, talk back? It used to be talk back. Anyway, okay. Top-down financial unilateral sanctions.
Royal, could you move the microphone a little bit closer to up your shirt? That would be helpful.
Just try to get it off here. Does that help?
No.
Oops. The green button. There's a green button. There we go.
Yep. Hold on a minute. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, can everybody, yeah, now we're going, so, okay. Sort of my passion, top-down unilateral sanctions. The top-down should distinguish what I'm talking about here. Top-down means sanctions that say, for instance, you woke up tomorrow morning and you couldn't access your bank account. None of your credit cards work. All your assets are frozen in the bank. And if you go to a friend and want some help, they'll get sanctioned too. So that's what I mean by top-down sanctions. Come from a government agency, normally the United States. It used to be the UN. As far as I can tell, the UN is out of the sanctions business, as well as peacekeeping missions. NATO does that now. It's turned into an offensive operation. Congress can levy them, but normally it comes through the Department of Treasury, the FCC. There are about 5 different government organizations that can levy these sanctions. No due process, no appeal process. Generally, when they say come on, they never go off. Okay. The other kind of sanctions are grassroots sanctions, which are much more benign and have some success, actually quite a bit of success, and generally referred to as boycotts. And an example would be the ANC in South Africa. Some of the civil rights movements boycotts quite well. So that's what I mean by top-down sanctions. By unilateral, I mean we impose them in the EU and the G7. basically comes along with us. So Madeleine Albright, I saw a presentation recently on YouTube by Chase Freeman, or Charles Freeman, who was the ambassador to Saudi Arabia at the time. Madeleine Albright was Secretary of State, and he made an interesting comment. Said she was very obtuse and imprisoned in an ideology. Leslie Stahl on U.S. sanctions against Iraq. We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. It's more people that died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it? Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it. Well, what was it worth? 60 Minutes, 5/12/96. It's worth noting that on 60 Minutes, Albright made no attempt to deny the figure. Far as I can tell, trying to look it up, there's between roughly 225 to 325,000 people that died in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Basically genocide. From fair.org, media bias reporting. Humanitarian Aid Relief Trust, which is a British humanitarian trust that does humanitarian relief around the world. Sanctions on Syria are some of the most complicated and far-reaching sanctions regimes ever imposed. They go by the name of the Caesar sanctions, and especially during eras like COVID or whatever, and are very strict sanctions. From Doug Bando, Senior Fellow at the Cato Institute. Syria has been at war for more than a decade. Its agony continues, with the U.S. punishing the Syrian people for the sins of their rulers. As Syria's neighbors reconcile with President Bashar al-Assad's government, Washington officials are having a meltdown. They want friendly Arab states to continue following America's ostentationally cruel, yet ineffective sanctions policy. Economic sanctions most hurt those with the least. Washington should allow the Syrians and their neighbors to begin working to forge a better future. From Alex Christoforou from the Duran, broadcast from Nicosia. Sanctions diminish and destroy the US dollar, which is the foundation of the permanent state power. Not only are they not humanitarian, they're also financially destructive. From Statista, world's most sanctions countries. Number of currently active sanctioned by target country. Russia, 18,772. Must be an administrative nightmare. And included as one of those is the Chechen warlord who did fighting at Bakhmut. His mother is on the sanctions list. And Iran, Syria, North Korea, Belarus, Myanmar, Venezuela. Notably note that Cuba is not on here, probably has as many sanctions as Russia. They tell me that you can't do business with Cuba and try and comply with the sanctions because nobody knows what they are. There have been so many over the last 60 years. And of course, Cuba hasn't done a lot there. The green and gray areas are not under U.S. sanctions. It's easier to say it that way. There are a lot more than this. Some peculiarities. If you can see the area of Russia, the big red area. Purple is China. Right where Crimea is, there's up a little bubble that sticks out. I can't reach it. There, well, that's actually the Ukraine. So even parts of the Ukraine are under sanctions, which is another whole story. SWIFT. The nuclear option is about to be used as a sanction on Russia from Maya Cross. Maya Cross is an academic. SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. Russia was kicked off the SWIFT system. In other words, unable to communicate with all the other world banking systems that are telecommunication facilities, millions of daily payments among 11,000 financial institutions in more than 200 countries and territories. Terminating Russia's access to SWIFT is the nuclear option. Economically, in terms of sanctions, is Maya Cross, the Edward W. Brooke Professor of Political Science and International Affairs at Northeastern. Maria Shchegoleina. As Western governments threaten Russia with a package of unprecedented sanctions aimed at deterring President Vladimir Putin from ordering an invasion of Ukraine, there's one measure in particular that appears to strike fear at the heart of the Kremlin, cutting the country off from the global banking system. The cutoff would terminate all international transactions, trigger currency volatility, and cause massive capital outflows. Maria Shchegoleina, a visiting fellow at the Finnish Institute of International Affairs, wrote in a paper last year for Carnegie Moscow Center. It also causes massive hardship. I picked these randomly. They're both academics. There's a huge academic input into the sanctions issue. I think it's I can't remember his name, Schellenberger, I think, from Yale, was kind of the principal academic involved. And James, trying to think his name. But anyway, another academic from the University of Missouri has been critiquing his work, and it's entitled To Russia with Love, Sanctions. Actually, argues that it had the opposite effect. So what is the SWIFT system? The nuclear option. So this is a proposed breakup of Russia. Balkanization refers to Yugoslavia and the Balkans, with sanctions on one side of Yugoslavia and the kinetic force on the other side, bombing Yugoslavia, broke it up into 7 nations, or 6 nations. And so this is what it says, proposed breakup of Russia, which would have, of course, been a real feast for venture capitalists, modern day carpetbaggers and scallywags. The SWIFT. Provides a main messaging network through which international payments are initiated. It also sells software and services to financial institutions, mostly for use on its proprietary SwiftNet, and assigns ISO 9362 business identifier codes, popularly known as SWIFT codes. I used to have a business that operated out of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And in order to operate, I needed a SWIFT account. World trade has all been done in dollars. So what happened to the nuclear option? My favorite independent journalist, Polki Sharma, used to work for WION, which is the Indian news outlet, India First Post. Russia grows faster than the West. Russia grew at 3.6% in 23, the US at 2.5%, the UK at 1%, Australia at 3%. I understand that Germany is now in a recession, and so is Japan. Both cut off from Russian gas. From the World Bank, Russia becomes high-income country, World Bank. Russia's economic growth has defied Western sanctions. This economic growth happened even after the U.S. and its allies levied thousands of sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine conflict, openly stating that their goal was to destroy the Russian economy and provoke a regime change in Moscow. A bill submitted to Congress by Ilhan Omar. I've tried to follow it through by clicking on the the links. As far as I can tell, it went nowhere. But to require congressional oversight of sanctions. Okay. So what happened? This courtesy of Professor Richard Wolff. American-Russian sanctions hit a brick wall. So what are the bricks? In 2006, Brazil, Russia, India, and China created the BRIC group. South Africa joined in 2010, making it BRICS. The group is designed to bring together the world's most important developing countries to challenge the political and economic power of the wealthier nations of North America and Western Europe. As of February 1st, 2024, 5 more countries have been added. See chart below. In terms of population, the BRICS got 45%, the G7, 9.5%. GDP, pricing parity, 36% of GDP, the BRICS. The G7, 29%, or 30%. Oil production, the BRICS, 44%. G7, 21%. Gas production, 34%. The G7, 30%. Gold production, BRICS, 24. G7, 10%. The rise of the BRICS. Think of the BRICS, or the way I think of the BRICS, is another European Union in the so-called global South. And they're in the development stages. They've been at it for quite a while. But what really what set them alight was all the sanctions we put against the other nations. And basically, late February of 22, with the start of the Ukrainian conflict, you can see that in 95, the G7 had 44% of the world's GDP, and the BRICS had 17%. In 2010, the G7, 34%. In 2010, 26%. Now in 23, the G7 is down to 29%. The BRICS at 32%. Okay, BRICS expands footprint in the global South. I don't know how they call that the global South. It looks more like the global North to me. But, you know, whatever, you know. You can see the extensive, you know, whatever you want to call it, power. And what's happening here is power is shifting to the so-called global South. It's shifting away from the G7, the G20, the so-called European Union. And the G7 consists of roughly 6 countries plus the European Union. The European Union, believe it or not, has around 27 countries involved. And then there's the G20. And President Biden said that there were 50 countries with us. 50 countries supported us. There are 194 countries in the UN. So what about the other 150? And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a power shift away from the Western powers, which to the rest of the world, from a from a unipolar world where the world's hegemon, to at least a bipolar, which would probably indicate the G7 in China. More popular, like to say multipolar world, which is yet to be determined. This is I just pulled some examples. This is the BRICS Bank. This is Shanghai. There's the what's called AIIB out of Beijing, which does sort of the same thing, and there's one in Moscow. Substantial institutions. This is to compete with the World Bank, the Western institution. They also have a system called, I think, CRS, which takes the place of the IMF. China has developed its own SWIFT system with, I think, around 4,500 banks on the system versus 11,000 on the Western SWIFT system. Pulled off some off of their website, some of their strategy. Includes the following main targets, which protect NDB's, the New Development Bank's primary aspirations for the 22-26 period. Total volume of approved financing from the bank, $30 billion, and I assume that's per loan. Direct total financing to projects contributing to climate change mitigation and adaptation, including energy transition. The numbers on the left don't add up to 100. They're just, shots. 30% in local currencies. So what the big push is to do their financing in the local currency rather than the US dollar. Huge amounts of businesses being done with China, India, Brazil, under their own currency. China will do a swap of renminbi or yuan, say with the rupee, and then India buys products from China, and China buys, so they're both using the local currency. 30% non-sovereign, so in other words, they're making 30% of their loans to, private operations or whatever, rather than another country. 20% co-financed, partnered with other MDBs, multi-nation development banks, so there are other ones operating out there, and then 40% female representation. This is some of the projects that I pulled off the website. Brazil, wind power project, China, general hospital project, Egypt, infrastructure development, Bangladesh, another infrastructure project. And the other thing that's in progress, maybe according to Jim Rickards and noted economists, maybe even this year they're going to have their own currency to compete against the American or the dollar. And presumably that will also be a reserve currency. And what a reserve is in this case, it's a nation's savings. So you have to invest it someplace, and that's 69% of that has gone into the US dollar, which they then buy US treasuries, so they finance our debt. Okay, so how does BRICS affect the American dollar? As BRICS economies grow, the US-China relationship deteriorates and the US expands use of sanctions. Countries seeking flexible trade and investment across borders will need a reserve currency that competes with or replaces the dollar. Significant impact, how the BRICS affect the US economy. Central to this ongoing situation is the US trade war with China, as well as US sanctions on China and Russia. Should the BRICS nation establish a new reserve currency, it would likely significantly impact the dollar, potentially leading to a decline in demand or what's known as de-dollarization. A weakening dollar. The impact would be most acutely felt in the US, where de-dollarization would likely lead to a broad depreciation and underperformance of US financial assets versus the rest of the world. In addition, a weakening dollar could in principle create inflationary pressure in the US by raising the cost of imported goods and services. Okay. Don't agree with Marco Rubio on very much, but I guess there's exceptions. Why do many people here think I'm tripping when I ask if countries can disobey the US? Marco Rubio said, in 5 years there will be so many countries transacting in other currencies than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them. It might not even take 5 years. Xi Jinping delivers a chilling message for the West as he tells dear friend Vladimir Putin change is coming that hasn't happened in 100 years. and we are driving it. From the Daily Mail. Now this guy, yeah, first we go after Russia, then we go after China. Good luck on that one. The year 2000, the USA top trading partners represented in blue, China in red, okay? So we'll skip forward 20 years. That's how it looked 2020. And it probably is more red on there in the last 3 years. So Lindsay, good luck going after China. Dramatic change. First rule of empire, never give your adversaries cause to unite against you, which I think came from Pat Buchanan's The Suicide of an Empire. And this is my dog, Chihuahua, waiting for me to come home. Take care. I think my 20 minutes.
Royal asked me if I knew what BRICS was before this, and I didn't, and now I almost don't want to know. Yikes. Thank you. That was very, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So now is the time for our offering. As always, half of what we collect every Sunday goes to a community organization. And do we know whose organization we're doing today? Open Hearts? Helping Hearts? Hungry Hearts, okay. So our words to receive the offering, if we could read these together. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now for our third song. It's number 159. And again, if you can stand, if you are able. Thank you. Our third reading is number 614, the sacred hoop. And again, I'll read the standard text, and if you could read the italicized. This is by Black Elk. When I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and round beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all the things of the Spirit, and the shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that made one circle, wide as daylight and starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And I saw that it was holy. Thank you. Thank you, Eric, for extinguishing the chalice. The chalice is extinguished, but the light goes with us out into the world.